Freaking got a horsefly out here with me. Just thought I saw a cat in a jar. That's weird. Alright. Hey there folks, how you doing today? Hope all is going well for you. Please bear with the sounds you hear in the background. The neighbors that have this property over here next door are out there on a four-wheeler hooting it up right now, so got to do this when I have time, and I can't wait for the dust to settle over there. So without further ado, here we go. The subject of today's video, as I always like to point out, this is a safe and empty weapon, folks. I don't have any ammunition out here on the table. And for those of you who are not immediately familiar with this, this is a Taurus PT111 MILLENNIUM G2. So this pistol belongs to a friend of mine who had owned it for many years and said that basically it just kind of needed a tune-up. So he had purchased some replacement parts for it from Galloway Precision. So for those of you who have been watching the channel for a good while now, you may know that I did this video here on the Ruger Max 9 highlighting the Galloway Precision Maxxis SS or short stroke replacement trigger, which I was really fond of. Then you may remember when I did this video here, I told of the woes that were involved with the Galloway Precision Operis trigger for the Taurus G3C. How it was a clunky piece of 3D printed plastic and seemed to be wrong in every way possible. Here's a little clip of that trigger in action. So before I put this back to how it was when it was created, I'll show you one more time what I consider to be the very inferior quality of the Galloway Operis trigger for the Taurus G3C. All that clunking that you hear there is the 3D printed plastic wearing itself in on this plastic cardboard looking trigger. So I actually wound up pulling that trigger right back out of the gun, putting the factory trigger back in the gun, and sending that trigger to a viewer to do with as he wanted to, and I have no idea if he was able to make it anything other than a waste of time or not. So when my buddy contacted me the other day and told me that he had purchased a trigger for this pistol and mentioned Galloway Precision, at first I was really concerned because that Operis trigger system was severely lacking in my manner of thinking. However, when he showed me the trigger, I saw that it was actually the Galloway Precision Asmund trigger system, which is also a 3D printed part. However, it is considerably different than the Operis trigger and appears to be a little better thought out. So with that being said, I installed the trigger in the gun. I also installed their stainless steel replacement guide rod system with an 18-pound spring, which you can really feel the pressure on that spring when you rack the slide on this puppy. And I took it out to the range today to see how it performed with the new trigger. As I mentioned before, this gun was pretty high mileage when he brought it to me to look at, and the factory trigger was kind of loose and wobbly, and you know, plastic parts wear after thousands of repetitions on their action, and it was worn out. You could tell that it was in rough shape. It had a lot of years worth of crud down in the nooks and crannies inside the frame because the pistol did not appear to have ever been disassembled. So two things I would like to point out to you. This video will not cover the installation of this trigger. If you have this trigger and you need to see a video of the installation of this trigger, Galloway Precision has one attached to the item on their web page. It's really self-explanatory. If you could change your own spark plugs, you could probably do this so long as you had the proper tools. So one thing the folks in charge of this platform are really adamant about is things that aggravate them, and modifications of firearms are things that aggravate them. So because I did not want this video to get flung down the memory hole, I decided to omit the portions of the content where I disassembled and reassembled the gun. It was very straightforward. Once you've done it a time or two, it's easy as just about anything else. One other thing that I left out of this video just because I did not have time to do it was I did not get a chance to take this pistol out to the range and fire it before I made the modifications. Originally, when I decided to do this, I had planned to do a before and after so I could show you side by side so I could give feedback and commentary. Folks, my time is just as tight as yours is, and it just didn't work out to do that. Suffice it to say, the important thing is that the pistol functions properly now. I have to say I was surprised to see how much better the Asmund trigger system felt in this pistol when compared to the lackluster feeling of the Operas trigger in the Taurus G3C. You probably want to see how it works, so let's head over to the range and I will show you that. So I'd like to point out two things with you concerning the 18-pound recoil spring that we installed on this pistol. First, it makes the slide very stiff and hard to pull back compared to the factory recoil spring. In fact, I placed the factory recoil spring back in this pistol so that I could compare the two, and there really was a lot of extra weight on the replacement recoil spring. Second, because there's a lot of extra weight on the recoil spring, recoil was almost non-existent. So unless you have the kind of physical limitations that would prevent you from easily cycling a heavy slide, I seem to think that the replacement guide rod was an added benefit. I had a few more rounds with me while I was out there at the range, so I went ahead and put the rest of them on a steel plate, and this is what we got. So what's the takeaway from all this? Well, for about an hour's worth of time spent, I was able to bring this heavily used Taurus Millennium platform pistol back to life, and hopefully it will serve well for a long time. Also, if any of you have this pistol and you're considering the Asmund trigger for it, I wouldn't be afraid to do it. So if you enjoyed this content, please remember to like the video or leave a comment down below. It really does help with the algorithm and keeping the videos in circulation. And it also lets me know if I'm doing what I intended to as far as reaching the audience goes. So until next time, take care. God bless. If you can change your own spark plugs, got him. There are multiple bumblebees swarming around in here, I think. I'm hoping they're not building a nest, but I'm going to have to go on the offensive tomorrow morning.